All right, so welcome everybody to the at-home songwriting guided lyric workshop here today. So what we're going to do is spend some time giving you a new way, or maybe just another way to work on writing lyrics. You know, one of the things that people always say to me is there's a couple things that come up. One is they don't have time. So time is always of the essence, as a lot of us have our lives going on, but we still want to write songs as well. The other thing that I hear is I'm not sure what to write about, or I get stuck at a certain point. So maybe I get a verse and then I don't know what to do with the second verse. What should I say in the verses? All of those things. So what we're going to do today is go over a process that I use. And obviously there's other ways to write songs. So I want this to really be about learning the process and learning how to get to a first draft within your songwriting. So I am going to share my screen. So what are we going to do today? So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a step-by-step process to write full song lyrics, and we're going to write and learn in real time. And then as we get towards the end, we'll also share some of our ideas that we've come up with. And then we want to support and encourage each other in this process as well. And hopefully you'll end up with the first draft of a lyric that you can actually take and put some music to and turn it into a finished song. And again, there's many ways to write songs. So, some of you are going to have the urge to jump ahead, but I would ask you to kind of stay with the group, follow the steps, because this isn't about who can write the fastest song or who can write the best song. We're not trying to compete with each other today. We're trying to learn a step-by-step process. And really the goal is to learn the process so you can take this and use it on your own to then write more songs for yourself as well. So we're writing a full song in 60 minutes. So in this process, there are 13 steps. So what I do is I usually will determine how much time I have and how many steps my process has, and I will divide that into the time. So that means there's 13 steps. If we divide 60 minutes by 13, that's about 4.61 minutes. So that equates to about 4 minutes and 36 seconds that we'll have to write each step. And this is a fun way to push yourself, because one of the things that stops many songwriters, and some of you will probably agree to this, that you get caught up by your inner critic. You spend time judging what you're writing instead of writing. So what time limits do is it kind of puts that inner critic in the corner for a while, and it gives your mind and yourself a chance to create instead of critique. So reviewing and critiquing your work is ultra important, but at the correct time. So what we're talking about first is, how do you get some material that you can rewrite? How do you get material that you can edit and refine within the process? So step one in this process, and this may or may not take a full 4.5 minutes, but I will set my timer anyway here. So step one is really pick your topic. And what I mean by topic is, what is the overall theme of your song? And songs that people remember are usually songs that give them some sort of emotional response. And what causes an emotional response within your listener is that they can see their own life within the song. So there's some high-level topics or high-level themes that are universal to us as humans. So I'd like you to select one of these topics, and we'll spend a few minutes so you can think about these and kind of go over them. But these topics are long-term love, new love, encouragement, confidence, or like your attitude, missing someone, or missing something. So basically, I'll set a timer and we'll just take a few minutes here, and I want you to think about what comes to mind and which one of these topics will be what you start focusing on. So I'll start the timer and then we'll come back in a few minutes. All right. So I see some people kind of finishing up. So hopefully all of you have a song topic chosen from these. So that's your step one. And as you sit down to write, that's usually a good thing to think about is what am I going to start writing about? And think of these 5 things as a good starting point because these are universal themes that have been known to work in memorable songs. So, step two now is take a few minutes and think about what is the key emotion that you want to communicate with your song around your topic. So, emotions, one of the things that I do as kind of a writing exercise is I actually have some emotion cards and I ordered them off of Amazon. There's like 56 emotion flashcards, but you can kind of pick them at random. So like this one is gloomy, depressed. Um, there's one that's proud or pride or someone being honored. But think about your topics. You know, is it happy? Is it sad? Is somebody worried? Is there fear involved? Like, think about what your key emotion is going to be around your topic. And the idea of your song is to really communicate that emotion. So let's take a couple minutes, think about the topic you selected, and what is the emotion that you would like to communicate. And then we'll come back. Camden, you had your hand raised?
Yes. So my genre that I like is like pop punk, pop rock, yada yada. And what they like doing is they like turning negative topics and making it turn into like like a happy rhythm. So I'm just wondering how that would equate to the songwriting.
I mean, that's up to you. So that's where you would make the decision on what is your topic and then what emotion do you want to communicate it with.
All right.
All right. So I see some people finishing up. So once you have your key emotion and your topic, Now you have a good place to start creating some material that you will use within your song and within this process. So we'll move on to step 3. So step 3 is to free write about your topic and emotion for the set amount of time. And what's important in this step is do not write lyrics. So in other workshops that I've done, when we start free writing, I have people that start to write basically in song form. They start to write rhymes. They really start to songwrite. But I think they miss the point of free writing is really tapping into your subconscious and letting whatever comes into your mind flow out through your computer or your pen or whatever you're writing with. And this part is not editing. It's just write and keep writing. And think about the feelings that your topic brings up and what is the singer or character in your possible song feeling, and just kind of let that flow out. Um, so the so that's step 3. So let's go ahead and set a timer. We'll set it for 4.5 minutes. So all of us will write 4.5 minutes about your topic and that emotion, and then we will come back and continue in the process. So we've got about 30 seconds left in this step. So maybe start wrapping up what you're writing. And for those of you who got in late because of the Zoom issues, I did post in the chat what the first two steps were. And then if you do want to rewatch this, I'm hoping to post this on YouTube tomorrow. And for those of you, if this is your first workshop, some of our other workshops are already up on the YouTube channel at homesongwriting.com. All right, so that is our time for this step. And without sharing what you've written at this point, because we're not bringing in, the ego, we're not bringing in the judge yet, but how is this feeling? How is this process feeling for people so far? And you can either put it in the chat or you can also raise your hand. I see, James, you have your thumb up, so that's good. Perfect. So let's move on to step 4 then. So this is where you start to look back at what you have written and look for titles. So we'll give you about 4.5 minutes here to look over what you just wrote and look for phrases or words that stand out as titles and make a list of those for possible titles. So and I'm going going too far. Sorry, I'm giving away the there we go. So I will set the timer for another few minutes here. So look over what you just wrote and look for phrases and words that stick out to you as like that might be a good song title. So I'll set the timer and we'll come back in a few. So we've got about 1 minute left. So some of the comments in the chat about some of that free writing, Razzie said it felt good. Autumn said it felt good. Jim said it feels great. It reminds him of object writing. It's totally the similar concept to object writing, but maybe a little bit less sense based. Dory said it gave her a sense of freedom with no judgment, and that's exactly what the mindset that we want to be in, for sure. And then Irish said this process feels like movie making in a way because he does screenwriting, and it feels like you develop your topic and um, really develop the characters and things from there. And Camden said he teared up, so that's good. That means you touched something a little bit. So step 4, obviously, getting your titles. Now you have a list of things that have some potential to start thinking about what is my title going to be, because a lot of times in what I would say, or what I would call rather, what I would call commercial songs or songs that people remember, a title plays a strong role in that because that kind of gives you that North Star and kind of the focus on where to sort of aim the rest of the song. So, step 5 is pick your title, and then you also will start using a process that I learned from Tony at Songwriter Chop Shop. So, Songwriter Chop Shop is another YouTube channel, and Tony's based in Ireland, and he uses this process called so but therefore, and it's really a way to think about your story plot of your song. So step 5 is to select your title and then use the so but therefore. And how that works is the so is, so here's the situation, but here is the conflict. Therefore, or after all, here is the resolution. So, as an example, I started writing a song with this process where I picked a title of State of Gray, and the song was about missing myself and being a little bit worried. So, what I wrote down for this step, and this is just an example, so this is how you would think about it within your topic, is I wrote, so things have seemed darker than usual these past few weeks. The same old going nowhere new, nothing to look forward to, but there must be a way to get back into how I used to feel. I used to feel excited about the future and things to come. Therefore, I need to learn how to break this cycle that I'm stuck in. I'm not sure how to do it, but I can't imagine staying like this. So, with your topic and your so but therefore, start to put your thoughts into this format. So have your title, what it's about, and then do a so but therefore. And this will probably take the majority of the time limit that we've set. So again, step 5 is select a title and then do this so but therefore process. Any questions on that before we start the timer?
Um, could you go to the slide of your example?
Sure. Which part would you like me to cover?
I'm having a little bit of confusion on the but part. Is the but part like a motivation to change? Like, because you say it was the but part was for the conflict, but it seems like when I read this, it seems like that's like the resolution. Like you're realizing that there's a way to get back to how you used to feel.
Correct. So basically, what it's saying is my situation is I'm not feeling the greatest, but I know there must be a way to get back. So that is part of the resolution. So, like, let's say you had a topic of um let's say like you like found, let's say the song's about finding a new job, right? So your so is, so I got this new job, I'm super excited about it, but I don't know if I'm going to have to work too many hours and if I'm going to have as much free time. Therefore, I need to think about like how do I manage my boundaries and how do I, make sure that I take care of myself. So it's basically thinking about your topic as a situation, and conflict is a word, like conflict doesn't have to be negative necessarily. It's just something that is a little bit contrary to the so. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes more sense to me. Thank you.
Perfect. So so any other questions on that? I know this is kind of the meat of this process. Dory.
Um, let me chat. Does the resolution necessarily mean the solution?
No. So it could, so like it's basically just there for, like that's the next step, right? Like it's just kind of like that next thing. Does that
Okay. You know, I'm thinking of songs. Did you ever hear like those songs that this, because I guess this is what I'm thinking in my mind, is, sometimes in songs where the lyrics end with the beginning lyrics?
it ends with the beginning lyrics? Like,
Yes. Yes. Like, say, like, because I'm thinking of this for what I have in my mind right now is the beginning of the song kind of presents the situation, but then the song explains the cycle, and to emphasize the cycle or the vicious circle, we come back to the lyrics that were at the beginning.
you definitely could, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll
Okay.
see in the next steps where this is going. So this is really just, again, kind of a way to start thinking about your topic, right? So basically the so is basically declarative, and the but doesn't have to necessarily be the opposite of the so, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it can, there's varying degrees of that. It's just a way to think about like another piece of what your topic is. Cool. So I will set the timer and then we will come back. So have fun with this one. We have about 1 minute left in this step. I see lots of you still contemplating and writing. That's great. So one of the things that I'd like all of you to realize in this process is, yes, we are creating material, and at some point you will want to think about, whoops, there we go. At some point you'll want to think about what you're writing and sort of the quality of it and things, but what you are really doing in this process is you're training yourself the process of writing songs. So you're actually learning the writing part more so than the results. So as you practice this, and what I would suggest is maybe write 5 or 10 songs using this process that we're talking about, so it becomes part of your toolbox. Obviously, you don't have to use it all the time, but those times where you're like, I have 30 minutes, can I divide this 30 minutes into these steps and then write a song? So Susan, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I was wondering before too, when just quickly, when you're doing these so but therefore it's I'm struggling to figure out, like, do you want activities, or do you want like you used the quit my job or whatever thing, or got my job, or do you want feelings? I felt like such and such a thing or whatever. How do I, that's what I was wondering. On what level are we talking about here?
It could be both, actually. So you could start with a feeling. You could say, so I've been feeling really XYZ, but, you know, but I never used to feel that way, or, whatever that but is. And then therefore, another way to think of therefore is as a result. Like, sort of like, what is the end of what you've been going through, or what is the next step, so to speak. Camden asked, would I suggest this story structure for most songs? I would, I think this structure, when you look at it, it shows up all over the place, because it's kind of like beginning, middle, end, right? And you'll see how this falls into place. You see it in movies where they set the scene. At some point, there's some sort of conflict, and then there's some form of, sometimes it doesn't resolve, but there's some sort of movement forward. Ron said, this is great. He said he struggled with making points flow, and this is helping. This literally has sped up my own songwriting so much, because it's, definitely a way to, come up with the flow of a story, for sure. Bram says he's finding it helpful, liberating, helps to stop the critic getting in the way, for sure. Camden says he uses who, what, when, and where. Absolutely. So those are your friends too, where you can have those questions where, as you start writing your song, that's what you can start thinking about, for sure. So let's move on. Whoops. Got too many windows open here. There we go. So now the next step is to make an outline using what you have written. So your verse, and you don't have to use this structure in every song that you write, but for simplicity today, we're going to do a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. This is an ultra common song structure. It works. Millions, you've heard thousands of songs yourself that use this. So this is a great starting point. So your verse 1 will be your so idea. Your chorus, obviously, is your title or your main topic. Your verse 2 is the but idea, followed by the title again. And then the bridge is that therefore or as a result. So in my example, my verse 1 is things have seemed darker than, and these are not lyrics. So we're not writing lyrics at this point. This is just your outline of what each section is going to say. So verse 1 for me was, things have seemed darker than usual these past few weeks. Same old, going nowhere new, nothing to look forward to, state of gray. Verse 2, there must be a way to get back into how I used to feel. I used to feel excited about the future and things to come, but I'm in a state of gray. The bridge, I need to learn how to break this cycle that I'm stuck in and not sure how to do it, but I can't imagine staying like this, staying in this state of gray. So that sets up, your flow of your song. So your verses don't say the same thing. So it gives you that recoloring of what your chorus will mean. Camden, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, can you go back to the previous window?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Okay, so in the chord, okay, so it's but, and then the bridge is therefore, and the title, and of course, got it. Okay. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on this piece? Otherwise, I will start the timer. Razzie says, how do you create chorus for songs? Great question. That's coming up next. So stay tuned for that process. So I will go ahead and start the timer for a few minutes here, and then we will come back.
Okay. So
So we've got about 30 seconds here. And in the chat, Susan had said this has changed the nature of the song that she thought she was going to be writing. So that's cool. And Jim says, this is fantastic. I'm terrible at finishing songs and usually go from let's just write a verse to let's do all the things at once. And by the time I'm in the second verse, I lose myself and it becomes unauthentic. This is helping me organize my thoughts. Awesome. Dory says at this point, it's difficult not to write lyrics. For sure. So I think that is our time for this step. So Camden says he's having trouble figuring out the difference between step 5 and 6. So basically step 5 is you're coming up with the material, and step 6 is you're basically just putting it into this frame. So this is really just outlining what you had written in step 5. So not a lot of difference. It's definitely closely related for sure. So step 7 is to think about your title and write 2 lines that support or relate to your title. And this is where you start creating material that's going to go into the chorus of your song. And we'll be putting these lines into different orders to create possible choruses. And I'll show you the different kind of starting points that are really powerful to use. Obviously, they're jumping off points, not something that you have to use, but something that really has helped me not labor over, what am I going to write or what am I going to do? So in step 7, my example of my State of Gray title, the 2 lines that I wrote were, where did all of my happy go? And I also wrote, nothing bright and shiny anymore. So those were the 2 lines that relate to my title. So step 7, let's take a couple of minutes and I'll set the timer and think about your title and write a couple of lines that relate to it or support the idea of your title. And we'll get started now. We've got about 1 minute left here. As we're just finishing up with a couple of people. So in the chat, Umar says it's improved how he will develop verse ideas. Wow, awesome. Paul says this process is helpful for sorting through and making sense of previous free write material. So that might be object writing and those types of things. Definitely a way to go back and look at some of that. Razzie said he's having a little bit of brain freeze, unable to create or think of possible lines that reflect the chorus material for the song. So, I mean, that hopefully that's not your, hopefully that's not the critic coming in, too early and you're not editing too much. I saw some people kind of shaking their heads as they're writing and stuff. So that means you're kind of starting to edit and all that. One way to sort of get past that, I think if you do get stuck, is think about the who, when, where, why, and how type questions, right? So if you think about who is this affecting and why is it affecting them, you could start to use some of that material around your title, right? So it just, the idea is to start brainstorming so something clicks and then you'll be like, oh, well, what does that mean? And Razzie, the other thing that we could do too is if you wanted to share the title that you're working on, we could talk about it and maybe give you some ideas as well. Some other comments in the chat. Camden says he's restraining himself from writing 2 more lyrics. If you come up with more than 2 lines for your chorus, like that's totally cool. But the very least 2 is a place to start for sure. Samuel says he has tons of material that he's free written from the past and now he struggles to put into structure, and says this right here is gold. Thank you. Awesome. I'm glad that it's helping you. Stu says he keeps changing the title and the story and going back to his initial emotion. He said he can only work it if he iterates it. So that might be your process there. And Richard says the goal here is to move along and not write a great song. So just throw anything down at this point. So Razzie says his title is Who's Watching Who? So a couple lines would be, what are they looking at? What are they seeing? Who's watching who? Why are they looking? Who's watching who? Like, it doesn't have to be anything too deep. The other thing is you can just repeat the title in your chorus as well. Sometimes a quick way to write a chorus is to just repeat your title. Because step 8 now is creating the title or creating the chorus using one of these frameworks that are kind of a jumping off point. So these are something that you should keep in your songwriting book or close by, because these are really quick chorus writing structures that can be used over and over again. And what we mean by this, the T's mean a line that includes the title. It doesn't have to only be the title, but it's a line that includes the title. So some choruses, literally it's just title, 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 title. It just repeats it over and over again. Some choruses are title, line, title, line. Also, it goes line, title, line, title. A lot of country songs go line, 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 title at the end. Some choruses will bookend it where the title is at the front and then the 2 lines and then the title at the end. Or sometimes it'll just repeat the title twice. So my example of my title with State of Gray, I wrote 2 options for a chorus. So I did State of Gray, Where Did All My Happy Go? I'm in a state of gray, nothing bright and shiny anymore. I'm in a state of gray. So that's one option. The other option that I did was, where did all my happy go? Nothing bright and shiny anymore. I'm in a state of gray, state of gray. So I originally liked this one, but the more I look at it, I like this one. But the key here in step 8 is to try as many of these structures with the 2 lines and your title as you can. So try using these examples to create potential choruses. Any questions on this piece before I start the timer? Awesome. So we will start now and give it a go and see how your lines fit in with this chorus structure. And again, don't worry about editing, just throw it together and see what comes out. Have about 45 seconds left here. All right. So time is up here. So um there's some messages in the chat. So Bram says there's a catharsis in this for him and that it's helping his current situation, but he can also see how we'll use it going forward. Susie says she loves that each section is timed because it basically doesn't let her critic intervene, which is that's the whole idea is, because otherwise, if you let that critic in, you will sometimes, spend a whole bunch of time on one little section when you could be creating more stuff. So, Richard kind of said the same thing, that the timer makes sure that he's not wasting time. And one of the things that Richard mentioned too, he said as he changed the order of these lines, it sort of changed the meaning of his chorus, which is an interesting concept. I think one of the things as you are, and we're not at this point yet, but when you are thinking about rewriting, a lot of times you don't think about just switching the order of the lines. That can sometimes make a huge impact on how the material is being experienced, for sure. So that's step 8. So we created a chorus. Now the next step is we want to start thinking about how your so section is experienced through the senses. So this means, how does the character experience what's going on in your song? So this is another free write exercise where you think about your so line or your first verse, and how does your character experience your first verse through the senses? And the senses that I write from are sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, and movement, which is something that I learned from Pat Pattison. So this is kind of object writing in a way, but it's more like writing from the starting point of your topic. So I'm going to set the timer for our time. So go ahead and free write about your first verse from the senses, and then we will come back. And let me see if I have an example here. So for those of you who don't necessarily know how this might play out, my example for my first verse was staring out the window, looking at nothing while I stir my coffee, mixing the chocolate and cream into a pale, sweet mix. I hear the TV in the other room. More shootings, more bad news. I can taste the first sip of my morning brew. I feel the warm air inside as I look at the snow outside. This is the same routine that I've done for so many mornings. Too many to count. Nothing seems to change. Here I am in this ongoing loop of not much. It feels darker than it has. So take the next few minutes and write about your topic using those senses. So try to hit on as many senses as you can, and we'll start now. All right. So that was our time for this step. How did that one feel? I know Camden in the chat asked, do you use all of the senses? And usually I try to. So it takes some time and it takes some practice to get through every sense that quickly. Um but this process, the more you practice it and the more you give it a shot, the more natural it will feel, and you'll actually train your, and what this is really doing is training your mind how to tap into ideas faster. It's kind of teaching you to go down the well and get the water or the ideas in a more efficient way. Stu says this was tough. Stu, why did it feel tough?
Um, all came out as cliches.
Okay, sure. That can happen sometimes, but that's okay, because that at least gives you a starting point for sure. Mike says it feels good. It helps him make the lyrics and the meaning deeper and show images. Exactly. Camden says taste is hard. He does object writing, and it tells me to use all, but I feel like I keep using the same thing for taste. Taste is, taste is an interesting one because, like, if you're writing about a beach, what does a beach taste like? You can start to think of, like, you know, it tastes like pina colada, or it tastes like like taste can be a tough one, but it can help you be creative as well. Samuel says it felt visceral. Irish says training is always tough. For sure. If it's tough, that means you're hitting that edge of where you can learn some things. Awesome. So the next step then is we're getting to the point where we're going to actually start writing lyrics. So step 10 is basically start writing a verse using the material that you have. So you already have your outline, you already have hopefully some sense-based writing, and you can start to come up with a rhyme scheme. And if you do have a rhyme scheme for your verse, try to make it different than your chorus, and try to use some of the imagery and ideas that you wrote down in the last step. And also keep your topic and emotion in mind as you're writing this verse. So my example first verse for my state of gray, my first verse that I wrote was staring out the window, looking at nothing while I stir my coffee, mixing the chocolate and cream into a pale sweet mix. I hear the TV in the other room, more shootings, more bad news as I take the first sip. It feels darker than it has. So that's my first verse, which was written from all of that other stuff that I had written previously. So that's your step 10 is take this time now, so the 4 minutes and 36 seconds, and write a first verse. So now you're starting to think lyrics, but try not to go into that critic mode. Just get something written. It's better to get it written than getting it right. So we'll worry about getting it right later. So we'll go ahead and start the timer, and we will go now. Have about 30 seconds left. All right, so time is up for step 10. So moving right along to step 11, we're going to do the same exact thing, but this time we're going to write your verse 2 based on your outline and all of the things that we had already talked about. And you can use this time to think of more imagery based stuff for your second verse, or you could stay with some of the things that you had come up with in the first or the other steps. But now we're going to spend 4.5 minutes writing verse 2, and we will start now. We have 1 minute left in this time period. Dory asked if this is where the editor kicks in. Not quite yet, but this is a part where it gets a little harder for it not to, because you're starting to put things in structure, which means, you do somewhat edit, but the idea is to still kind of not think too deep at this point. So there's our step 11. So the next step, guess what step 12 is? This is where you're, if we're doing kind of like the bridge structure now, but your bridge could actually be a third verse as well. So now use your outline for the next 4.5 minutes to write either your verse 3 or your bridge. And if you do have a structure, this section a lot of times will contrast to what the other verses look like, especially if it's a bridge. So if you have a certain rhyme scheme in your first verses, then this one will change it up a little bit. But we will start the timer now, and we'll come back. So have fun. We have 1 minute left. All right, so that is our time for this step. So that's 12 steps that we've done. The next one is actually the last step in the process, and this one is kind of reading and rewriting for a few minutes. Obviously, you can do this longer than the time limit, but I thought for today, this will be a chance for you to read over what you've written. Does it make some kind of sense? Does the story flow? You know, is there anything that's missing? And you can kind of start to rewrite to your taste. So I'm gonna start the timer for this for today, but in the real world, when you're writing, you're at that point where you can now start going back with the fine-tooth comb and trying to figure out, you know, where can I change this? Where can I make it better? Um, and then technically there's one more step after this, and that's really putting it to music where everything can kind of change after that as well. And the idea of once you have this lyric, how do you put that to music? You can think about how do you communicate. You already have what your core emotion is, so figure out what decisions can I make from a musical perspective that communicate the same emotion, and then you can start building your melody based on the rhythm of your lyrics. Start with rhythm first and then add pitch later. But that, you know, is a whole nother process. But so I'm going to set the timer one more time for this kind of lyric read over and just kind of light, maybe some editing at this point. And then after this step, we can share some of what you guys have written if you're open to sharing, and see kind of like what others in the group have come up with. So we'll come back in about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So we'll see you soon. All right, so that is our time on that step. So before I go back to the main screen, I just had, step 14 at this point is really starting to set your lyric to music. So again, don't feel like anything you've written is set in stone, because obviously as you start putting lyrics to a melody, there's probably going to be edits that you're going to make it fit with rhythm. Also, as you start to think about the music, start to think about what chords can communicate the core emotion of your song, and then use things like rhythm that also communicate your core emotion. And if you want more tips on developing that emotion, last week we did the contrast, prosody, and repetition workshop, which is on YouTube now, so you can watch that and get some other tips as well. So, how did that feel for you guys going through this process? And go ahead and raise your hand if you want to speak, or you can put it in the chat as well. James.
Very liberating.
Awesome. So setting you free a little bit in how you're writing. That's great. Anybody else? Perfect. Oh, Jay, you have your hand raised.
Chad, personally, of your workshops, I feel that this is not just thoughtfully, but mechanically been one of the most impactful workshops you've had. Not just the steps, but the time mechanisms in place to keep us in line with your thought process and how you want us to flow through it. I mean, I feel as though it was truly conducive from the very first step to the ending step. And that much thought process going into it, I just want to share that I truly appreciate you thinking this through. And I feel as though a lot of people would get a lot of benefit from this if they know about it. So I love to see that the community may or may not share this, but I think that our peers, as we're writing, would find a lot of benefit if you guys would care to share it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jay. Definitely, once it's posted on YouTube, definitely share it with people who might want to watch, and then also tell people about the meetup as well. Next month we're going to do a workshop like this where we write metaphors, which some of you attended my last metaphor workshop, but it's always a great exercise to do it in real time and keep practicing as well. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Dory.
For me personally, I second that what he just said. It streamlines the process a lot for me and gives me more direction and forces me to stay on course.
Absolutely. And it helps me when I don't have a lot of time too, and sometimes it's fun to really push yourself hard and do each step in like 2 minutes instead of 4, or 1 minute. Like, what can you write in 13 steps if you did 1 minute each step? So it's a good test to see how it goes. Hazeline.
Yeah, I've found it helpful because usually my thought process makes me not want to write because it gets overwhelmed. And so this kind of simplified it. But I noticed, like, if I missed a step or if I got off track because my kids were talking or something, it really helps to be able to analyze what you're writing the more deeper you go into it, because then you can see where your rhymes are and stuff like that. But I found it was helpful. It really makes everything come out faster. So
Yeah. I don't know if any of you have ever worked in sales, but one of the sayings that you hear a lot in sales is time kills all deals. You want things to close quickly. And I think that applies to songwriting in a way too, because if you give yourself too much leeway, your brain will take it. But if you give yourself a limitation, your brain also takes the challenge, right? So it actually causes more creativity to put limitations on yourself, which is an interesting kind of paradox, but definitely. Thank you, Hazeline. Irish.
Yeah, I can tell you a small story if you all would like to listen.
Sure.
So my younger sister, she wanted to get into medical school. And I told her that organic chemistry can be taught in 7 days. And it was a thick book, and she was worried, and she thought teachers is emphasizing upon to read a lot. Classmates are reading a lot, so she started putting time. But she was getting nervous before examination. And suddenly she remembered, brother, you said you can teach me organic chemistry in 7 days. I say, yeah. So when would you like to start? Right now. And I taught her. You know what she said afterwards? Brother, you said it can be taught in 7 days. You are wrong. It can be taught in 5 days. And the reason was I taught her the fundamentals. What you are teaching is the fundamentals upon which you can build a beautiful story.
Awesome. That's a great story, Irish. Thank you.
And every subject has a fundamental, every subject, including medicine, law, and fundamentals is not taught most of the time. And that is a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I run into is I have people who say you can't teach people how to write songs. Like people will say you either have it or you don't. And I disagree with that. I think that songwriting in any art or anything is something that you can learn if you learn, like Irish said, the fundamentals and the tools.
Yep.
You know, obviously nobody can teach you how to write an absolute smash hit song, but you can learn how to write songs and maybe one of your songs will become a hit, right? Because if people knew exactly how to write a hit, there'd be a lot more hit songwriters for sure. Richard.
That's so true, Chad. I just wanted to, kind of like second and third and fourth everything everybody said. It's really quite hilarious to me because I'm a classic person who doesn't really finish songs. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't finish songs, but like my process is such that I'm willing to spend 14 years on a song and, waiting for like certain things that'll just kind of like fall into place. And this is hilarious because, the song I have here in front of me is hardly the best thing I've ever read or wrote, or it doesn't necessarily impress me all that much, but it is done. There's a verse, a chorus, a verse, a chorus, a bridge, and a chorus. And that's really rare for me to pull off in any amount of time, let alone in, a couple of hours. I think what's so great about it is, and this experience, kind of what Jay was talking about too, like just the mechanics of it all, going in, I just kept coaching my brain, like, well, we're doing writing exercises and each step is just a writing exercise. And it's almost like by taking my urge to be creative out of the process completely, I was able to then, as we went through the steps, it's like you kind of got to have a little blind faith sometimes. And by the time we're into like step 7, step 8, all of a sudden my creativity is exposed to me, right? It's like things are just kind of like being revealed as you go along. And again, keeping for myself and for all of us in mind, the goal isn't necessarily to write a great song, because a lot of songwriters know this, like no matter how much you think you have a complete song, there's sometimes this urge to kind of tweak or adjust. And the metaphor I have in mind now is it's like the song is like a home. You can, at any day you want, you could go smash off like the east wing of your house and build something else there, or not build. But what we did here is we bought land. We bought land so that now I could remodel the house every day for the rest of my life if I want, because I own the land. And so this kind of exercise is great because it's showing me how, not that I didn't know it, but it's like really reaffirming for me the value of like, just get it on paper and you can change it later. Just get something down. You can go back and fix it later, but you got to own the land or else you can't remodel the home or even build the home. So this was really awesome, Chad. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Richard. That's an awesome analogy. And I hope I don't have to wait 14 years for our co-write.
It'll be quicker than that, I hope.
Okay. No, I mean, I think, I hear a lot of songwriters say they start a lot of songs and they don't finish a lot of songs. And I'm a finisher. Like, I don't have a whole lot of things laying around because I use some of these steps to like just finish it. Because like what Richard said is you don't have anything to rewrite if you don't have it written, so get it down. You can even put it away for a while And maybe you do, like, let's say you take a week. This might be something you could do. And I saw this on another YouTube video of, it was an electronic dance music producer that said he makes like 3 beats a day, 5 days a week. So he's coming up with like 15 different music tracks. And he does that every day for a month. And then at the end of the month, he goes back and listens to them. And then he picks like the top 4 that really stood out. And those are the ones he finishes and really refines. And you could do that for maybe a week. Do this exercise once a day. You know, maybe instead of taking 60 minutes, you take 30 minutes or 15 minutes even, and push yourself to just have a song start. And then at the end of the week, go back and be like, this one kind of has some legs. I might want to take this one a little bit further and kind of put more work into it. And then the other ones, it's practice. You're learning how to write. Camden, you had your hand up. Oh, you're on mute.
I just wanted to share how I how I currently do it. Like first, like I think up something, and then like usually it's a chorus. Sometimes it's a pre-chorus. Sometimes it's a verse, but most of the time it's a chorus. And then basically I like jump around between each songs when I get stuck, so I keep moving. So like right now I have like the verse written down for two other different songs, and I'm gonna come back to them later.
Cool. Well, that's productive. And one thing that Richard said too, when he talked about being creative, I think sometimes we mistake the process of creation with the result, right? Like being creative is actually doing the work of actually creating something. It's not where you end up necessarily. Does anybody want to share the song or the lyrics that they've written today? You could either put them in the chat, I can read them, or if you want to read them out loud, or if you're not looking to share, that's totally fine as well. Susan, you had your hand raised.
Oh, I'll share mine.
Awesome.
I'll just say that this whole time I was thinking, I have a song I was trying to write about my parents who have passed away long ago. And I kind of thought maybe I would do that. So that's where the title came. But then as we started doing it, I was like, no way, that's not what this is. And I started seeing something else. So anyway, this is more about a lover that passed away, and a lot of people have. And I didn't try to do any rhyming, but here we go. I titled it Mind's Eye. The chorus. I see you in my mind's eye, hear your voice, call your name. I wake and almost see you there, but only in my mind's eye. Verse 1. Laughter crackling in the throat, a snore, a sneeze, the song, your faded jeans fading through the clouds between. I almost smell the chilies in your sweet cologne, or feel your gentle touch around my shoulders. Then the chorus again. In verse 2, does no one else remember the way it seems they should? Does no one else feel that loss of personhood? I own these memories now, but what if they fade? I just wish I could hold you once again. And then the chorus, then the bridge. So I will paint that picture, sing that song, let the world know what's in my heart. Never forget, never let go, keep your memory alive. And so obviously that needs a lot of work still. There's no rhyming, etc. Blah, blah, blah. But
that was a really great, yeah, that was a really great start though. Like you had a ton of great imagery that like I knew what the song was about the whole time. And I think sometimes when we write line by line, we get too caught up in what's in our head. And sometimes the songs we write don't make sense, but that made complete sense. And I loved the where you talked about the chilies in the cologne. Like that was like, wow, that was a really cool imagery that like, yeah, that was really good work, Susan. That was awesome.
It came from me going back and looking at those notes that I wrote down of different things, because I started out writing them up on my parents.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, this doesn't work. But like that whole jotting down stuff and bringing it back in was really useful. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Hazeline.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. I was already trying to put music, but okay. So I have today I hear of war. I see pain. There's There is suffering going on today. Things I've seen can't persuade God why. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, come, oh, come, oh, come. Oh, freedom, come. Today, there's no retreat, there's no shame, there's no need for more suffering. Things unseen, who's to blame? God, why? Not today, not tomorrow, just press through the sorrow. Don't react, no revenge, just make peace until the better end. Not today. I have a little bit of a pre-chorus that I forgot to sing, but
Wow, that was awesome. That was really good. Thank you. You gave me chills on the freedom part when there was something in your voice that really like struck me. So thank you for sharing that. In the chat, Stevie has the title is "Gotta Get Back Out," and the lyrics are "Sitting at home so long, been missing my friends, been writing sad songs, trouble getting out of bed. Gotta get back out, gotta see the world, gotta get back out, gotta find a new girl. Gonna burn my masks, have newfound freedom. I'm going to bask in the feeling of liberation. Gotta get back out, gotta see the world, gotta get back out, gotta find a new girl. Don't know your name, don't know your plan. Let's play a game, let's start a band. Gotta get back out, gotta see the world, gotta get back out, gotta find a new girl." Cool. That was really good too. Richard.
Okay, I'm happy to share mine here. Okay, here we go. It's called, let me go back because I changed it a couple times. It's called, I think it's called Meeting Me or Meet Me or something along those lines. I'll have to edit my title. Here we go. I've worn my happy faces, the paint is chipped away. The mask of my bad attitude is also fading fast. I don't know who I am inside. There's no one here I know. I'm standing on the precipice. Will anybody show? I'm not afraid to see the shadows lurking in my heart. The problem is I'm trying to keep the light and dark apart. The paradox of bondage is a little sets you free. I'm learning to believe in that, and now I'm meeting me. The truth is that I wouldn't want to lose what I have learned. The lessons have been painful, but I'm burning with conviction. There's nothing to the two extremes. They forge my humble tools, and hopefully the time is right for me to play the rules. I'm not afraid to see the shadows lurking in my heart. The problem is I'm trying to keep the light and dark apart. The paradox of bondage is a little sets you free. I'm learning to believe in that, and now I'm meeting me. I've never met a version I could tolerate for long. I've changed 100 times while you have listened to the song. If everything I think and feel and do is right and wrong, then maybe there is room for all of me to still belong. I'm not afraid to see the shadows lurking in my heart. The problem is I'm trying to keep the light and dark apart. The paradox of bondage is a little sets you free. I'm learning to believe in that, and now I'm meeting me.
Cool. I love the part, Richard, where you talked about changing just within I don't remember the exact way that you said it, but something about changing while we've been listening to this song. Like that really stood out to me, that section, but awesome. Dory.
This is called Battles.
Cool title.
What do we do when times are tough? Tell me, what do we say when we've had enough? The tension mounts as we constantly keep score. Tell me, what are we really fighting for? These battles wear us down. Peace is never found. Lines have all been drawn. How long can this go on? Silence every day, nothing left to say. We've crumbled to the ground. These battles wear us down. How do we heal these wounded hearts? Tell me, how do we fix the broken parts? This constant struggle that we face tells us how we need to find some grace. And then the chorus. The bridge is, what if we stop to surrender? with a love that once bonded us together. Do you remember? These battles wear us down, pieces never found. Time, lines have all been drawn, how long can this go on? Silence every day, nothing left to say. We've crumbled to the ground, these battles wear us down. And then this is where I was saying about, I would end it with, what do we do when times are tough? Tell me, what do we say when we've had enough?
Awesome. Razzie put in the chat while you were reading that, Dory, that it's really good and relatable to things that are happening today. I think all of us felt those words just with what's going on in the world, for sure. Good work.
Thanks.
Stu posted in the chat. So his song is called I Have to Believe. So here it goes. Wow, her name is Julie. We're talking. She's so great. We're talking and it's cold and she's warm in every way. I have to believe there's danger, but this time I know, this time I have to believe. Oh man, she's a Capulet. I know there will be fury, our fury, our families will pull us apart and our love can never be. I have to believe there's danger, but this time I know, this time I have to believe. Something here feels so right. Somehow it feels strong. How can this be wrong? I have to believe there's danger, but this time I know. This time I have to believe. Very cool. Definitely. I like the idea how you flowed with I have to believe, and it changed, from verse to verse. That was really good. Nice work. Anybody want to, or anyone else want to share what they've written today? If not, I kind of want to show you guys. Oh, Umar.
Yes. Okay. The title, hi, Chad.
Hello.
The title is You're Not Alone. So the verse is, you're coming away from your face in so much pain, your dreams and hopes all up in flames. You're holding burnt out bags, your clothes and shoes on fire. Don't hide your ache. We're here to help. Don't think you're on your own. I know all hope seems lost. You're not alone. You're not alone. You were running on a treadmill, trying to go somewhere, all dressed up, nowhere to go. Running round in circles looking for a cure, convinced that this is who you are. Don't think you're on your own. Seems lost. You're not alone. You're not alone. You found a family. You found a home. Nothing can compare to such love. Home is where the heart is. Then back to the chorus. Don't think you're on your own. I know all hope seems lost. You're not alone. You're not alone. Definitely some rewrites are going to happen, but I'm happy that I've completed this one.
Awesome. Nice work. James, I see that you sent me an image, so I will do my best to try to read that here. So verse 1 is, I will fight back to you. We haven't been the same since our falling. Maybe that's why we're both having doubts. You left while I was still sleeping, and when I woke, the bed felt cold. I can't read that word from last night. And I can't read that one. Sorry. There must be a way to get back to you because my heart still belongs to you. Days are gloomy when you're not here. It is my greatest. Not sure if I can read that one. I don't care how long it takes. I will fight back to you. I love that title, and I love the concept of I will fight back to you. Like, that tells you in that song and that emotion that this relationship meant so much that you are willing to fight to keep that and bring that person back, which I think is a really powerful and relatable topic for sure. So thank you for sharing that. So I think that's a good place to wrap up today. So thank you all for, spending a couple hours with me here on a Saturday. Are there any final questions or final thoughts as we start to wrap up? Jay, you have your hand raised.
Thanks, Chad. Actually, I had a quick question about your website. By chance, do you have a shared folder or any type of storage area where we can get like the raw worksheets from these workshops?
I haven't been sharing them. I don't really have a place to put those yet, but that might be something that I do in the future for sure.
Okay, if you'd like to discuss potential cheap or free options on that, please feel free to reach out.
Cool. Anybody else have any questions or final thoughts? Dory.
I just want to say thank you. This was invaluable. I really, really loved it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Hopefully it helps you, and hopefully we'll see some of you back, for the future workshops and things too. The next one that I have scheduled is next month in April, where we do the metaphor writing workshop, which is also a guided writing process as well. We won't be writing a full song, but we'll definitely give you tools on how to incorporate the thought process of writing metaphors. Camden.
I was wondering if so I have two lyrics that two lyric sheets that I have completed, and I was wondering if you could critique it.
Send me a message offline.
Okay, where can I contact you?
You can contact me through Meetup, or there's a link on the YouTube channel as well.
All right, sweet, thank you.
Awesome. So thank you all for joining me today. That's gonna wrap it up. So definitely keep in touch through meetup.com. And I also lead monthly workshops through Minnesota Association of Songwriters. That is a group that actually does have a membership. So you can, there's a 30-day free trial, or you can join for $50 per year. We have some pretty cool workshops coming up for them as well. So definitely check those out. But At Home Songwriting, that's my own group, and I'll be doing the videos and free workshops for sure. So thank you all. Have a good rest of the weekend.